Welcome, Rajarshi Mitra. I'm very
Thank you.
excited to have you on board for our episode 2 of Light Conversations. Let me introduce you first.
Sure.
Rajarshi Mitra is a master in the art of seeing. A marketeer by profession, Rajarshi is adept at juggling work and his love for photography, traveling, and biking. An avid Himalayan trekker, his frames speak volumes about his sharp artistic instincts and keen observation, inspiring sheer awe for Mother Nature. I welcome Rajarshi to our second episode of Light Conversations, a space to kindle your highest artistic potential in photography. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad that I got invited, and that was quite an introduction.
It's honest.
Thank you so much. And first, I'd like to actually congratulate you to create this platform. Uh, I feel that it is going to give a lot of photographers like us the voice that it needs. So I hope that your platform kind of does that for a lot of young photographers or whoever that you want to explore. So yeah, thank you so much. Thanks again. Look
Thank
forward
you.
to the conversation.
Thank you. We're just trying.
Yeah, sure.
So my first question for you is it is obvious, but what drew you to photography while growing up?
Mm, that's kind of a tricky one. So I will tell you a little bit of backstory. I was really into cricket growing up. So like every other Indian kid, and I was very passionate about sports, etc. At one point in time, I was thinking of taking it up as a profession, etc. But then, as you grow up, there are family expectations, and typically coming up from a middle class family background, it becomes a little difficult to. At least it was back then. It was difficult to pursue sports as a career, right? So that transition then happened. Unfortunately or fortunately, I took science after my 10th standards, and then that inclination towards cricket, devoting so much of time, etc., became lesser and lesser. And when I started going to college, then I thought that okay, I need something because my whole childhood growing up, I had studies and I had cricket, so that was like a big part of my growing up. But during college, I could see that something was lacking and there is a gap which I wanted to fill up. And then it kind of happened organically. So I bought a small digital camera, like we used to have those 10 megapixel ones, the Canons and Nikons, those smaller ones. So I got one of those. During college, we used to go out with friends, etc. uh, I used to take photos back then, so started taking photos, and that's how it kind of all started. And I've seen how my father kind of documented our childhood uh, in the family albums, etc. So I guess a little bit of it has been passed on from my father as well. So yeah, that's how it all started, I guess.
I guess like seeing someone very close to you, like a parent, meticulously documenting all your memories might have had a big impact on you.
Yeah, by the time I actually understood these things, and by the time I was in college, etc., he has already stopped taking photos. But at least his work kind of obviously lived on, and it still lives on in the family albums. So yeah, you're right. And much later, I kind of realized, okay, there might have been some inclination towards it from the childhood or while growing up, but didn't realize till maybe 7 8 years back or 10 years back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry, I kind of reminded me to ask the same thing. Even I am curious to know.
About?
I'm saying, so how did you start?
Oh, because the voice was a bit
Oh, I'm
disconnected, so
sorry.
I couldn't. How did I start? I also, I as a child was very creative and artistic,
Oh, wow.
but I also confused my parents a lot because I used to score very well in science and mathematics, and my mother wasn't sure which field I should select. But then our school system is such that if you score well, like overall, they just automatically declare that you should be a science student.
Yeah,
So I was in that list that, okay, Neena, science stream, like that. And it's just like the culture is such that it's considered as more such a like stable and more prestigious to go into science. So there were no questions asked, and all my friends opted for non-medical stream. But
yeah,
I was a bit apprehensive about taking math because uh, I had started developing a fear of math like towards the end in
okay.
ninth and 10th. And then I said, no, 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 I'll go for medical. and, and there was like, there wasn't even a question of, selecting art or, having a career in something creative.
Exactly. Right.
There was no point even discussing that. No one even pointed it out. Although I was taking part in competitions and I was also very active in sports and music and other things like acting and stuff. And essentially, I was also very popular in English language, and also lots of fine artwork, like just painting and stuff. In my school, I was popular for those.
Yeah.
And but I would always be like in the first three or first five, like uh, after the exams. So yeah, I mean, I can understand how it might be confusing for a parent, and I was also confused. What do I really want to do? So I
Yeah.
went for science, and then later on I studied biotechnology. And side by side, I was doing my hobbies, and I bought a camera with my first stipend from my master's in the US, which was just a point and shoot. And I would take pictures and then later on convert those landscapes into paintings.
Wow. Fantastic.
Like I would just blow it up on my laptop and just use that as reference. So that maybe kind of like it steered my perspective a bit towards capturing, like showing or expressing something digitally rather than just creating it with paint and brushes. So that
Correct.
visual medium has changed. And then later on, I like somehow like I was probably destined. So I kept on gradually steering towards photography. When I was working, I felt that I should do something about it. I should do something about creative mind, and I joined the photography academy, like which was for professionals. So it was in the evenings or weekends, so I could juggle it with my work.
So you have like proper formal training. That's great. That usually
No,
helps.
it's yeah, it was just a 1 year program, so
Yeah,
it
great.
was maybe it acted like a head start, like a push, but I think my maximum growth happened later on when I left my job.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Super story.
I feel like I'm being interviewed now. I wasn't prepared for this.
No, I was just curious.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I have also been in a full-time job, and I used to have client assignments, and I used to do editing in the evenings, and then somehow manage it, and then it started becoming very hectic. I My second question is also on the same grounds. How do you balance a full-time job with a creative pursuit? Is it challenging, or is it satisfying? Like, does it balance out well?
Mm, it's bit of a both. So See, thankfully, I work in something where it needs a little bit of creativity as well. So when you are in marketing, branding, advertising, etc., so this profession kind of inherently needs you to be a little creative, and there is a scope of expressing yourself, if I can put it that way. And so that is like the professional part of it. And for photography and other creative pursuits, I have never put it under pressure as such. So my motive was never to make money out of this. So that pressure to put food on the table from art was never there in my case, thankfully. And I felt that it was a very good situation to be in. In fact, I still feel that way. That okay, I can do whatever I want to do, and I can keep experimenting with my with my photography or the creative side without putting much pressure. That what if I have to kind of earn a living out of it? And I could then manage this whole situation of balancing a 9 to 5 with something. So I always keep on saying that I kind of live a double life. One is like a full-time marketeer, and the other side is a part-time photographer. In fact, it reminds me that I'm actually working on a project which is like a compilation of sorts, which I thought would be interesting. It's like 9 to 5 and art. It's like a little book that I'm trying to compile together. So there I try and explore this idea in a little more depth. So it's like some of the things that I've done over the years, because I'm doing it for quite some time now. It's almost 12 years that I'm in the corporate world, and I'm trying to balance this as well. So fair amount of experience in terms of juggling both. So I thought it is a good thing if I could document some of those. At least it will help me when I get confused about something. So that was the initial idea, and I kind of still refining that. So yeah, that's like one of the things that I'm kind of excited about.
I think when it gets released publicly, it will help a lot of people to get that clarity, because I personally know a lot of people in India, and um, they are juggling photography with a full-time job.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I have also sometimes advised uh, some of my like students when they ask, "What should I do? Should I go for full-time photography?" And I always say no, because I want them to get that, financial security first and be financially independent. And if they feel comfortable, then only they should, transition into full time. I could do it because I had the backing, and I am able to manage, at least in the initial years. So the pressure is not as much as it could have been. So yeah. I also wanted to ask you about your love for biking, and how does it help or take away from your love of photography?
It doesn't help at all.
No,
It
I
is
thought it
just,
would. I thought it would be helpful because you can just take your bike anywhere.
yeah, that is there, but I kind of try and keep it separate because biking is something that is totally for me to relax. So I just do it whenever I want to do it, and it's that adrenaline that kind of keeps me going through the day. So, oh, I see Himadrida here. Hi, how are you? Uh, so yeah, it. I don't think it helps in any way to pursue photography as such, because see, the genre that I kind of focus, that is landscape, and we generally have to carry a lot of gear and all those stuffs. So it is practically not realistic to do biking simultaneously with exploration or travel, etc. So it becomes a little problematic. Biking is there just to keep me sane, keep me sane and get my daily dose of adrenaline.
But have you ever biked in Ladakh area?
Yeah, yeah. So I've kind of traveled throughout India, so as to say.
So
I've been to both mountains, seas, oceans, and I live near the western coast. So coastline is like a default choice.
yeah, but I thought that it would help you to reach those areas which are not quite accessible with, you know, regular transport. So, have you ever felt that it acts as an advantage being a biker?
Uh, Usually, a 4x4 is more preferred. If you
Okay.
have to seriously go to a place which is unexplored, and if
Mhm.
it is, let's say, like some of the places we are currently doing to cover some of the unexplored areas, etc. Bike is okay. I mean, you can go there for a biking trip, but to carry everything and take your bike there is a little problematic. At least that is my personal feeling. A lot of people do that, uh, but it is not the right fit, at least not for me. And it's an advantage if you
Mhm.
definitely want to go explore some parts which is not very accessible with public transport, etc. It definitely helps. But my personal preference would be to take a 4x4 or something. It's just safer. Let's
Mhm.
just put it that way. It's just safer, more convenient. Yeah,
Have you heard of Thomas Heaton? He is the photographer with the van.
yeah. A
Yeah.
lot of people do actually in the Western world. So not only Thomas, there are a lot of other photographers who kind of lead a van life,
Yeah.
and that is something that is quite normal. It has been normalized in a lot of Western countries. Even Australia, for that matter, has a great outdoor culture. Australia, New Zealand, these countries have great outdoor culture. Unfortunately, in India, I would say that the outdoor culture is not great. I'm sure a lot of our fellow photographers or people from our community would kind of vouch for that. We don't have a great outdoor community as such, so that spending time in the outdoors is not considered something to do naturally. Let's say if you go to Australia, you will see that people are just on the beach. They will spend an entire day on the beach. If you go to other parts, let's say like Northern Europe, the entire summers they're like out, going somewhere, visiting some place, chilling out, etc. First of all, the Indian work culture doesn't allow you that, especially people in the corporate. People who are just pursuing this, for them, then it becomes a luxury to kind of spend a long time outdoors. We have our friend here, Himadri, who is listening to this conversation. So he's like a professional. He has to go to the outdoors, but mostly it is during the workshops, etc., that is possible for him to spend that amount of time outdoors. Otherwise, it becomes a little restrictive. And honestly, because the overall environment is not that conducive. But on the same breath, I would like to add that there are a lot of young people who are kind of now taking this up as an opportunity, and they are trying to create outdoor based, you can say, so called life, the digital nomads, etc. These kind of profiles you will see more and more coming up. I understand that a lot of it is a fad. I know I will get a lot of heat for saying this, but there are still people, handful of people who are actually doing great work, who are actually serious about this, and they are actually pushing the limits to do what people do in the outside world for India. And it's actually very good to see. We get a lot of inspiration from that. That a lot of young people are actually coming up. They are taking this very seriously. spending a lot of time outdoors, and trying to build a profile which is not the regular one that we are used to seeing. So
Yeah.
yeah, I hope that this culture kind of continues. This culture kind of continues.
And I feel that your photography really inspires that, especially the photographs you've taken in the Himalayan range. I find them really unique, minimalistic, and very, calming. And I think it has like it stands out. Like I can tell that it's taken by you. It's Rajarshi's work. So can you tell me more about these Himalayan adventures and how these have inspired you, like your travels to the Himalayas?
So again, like it started with a natural inclination towards mountains. Even though I live by the ocean, but I am a mountain person that way. So kind of started from that, and then if you look at my earlier work, it was like very regular documenting those popular places, etc. And also for a brief period, I was in northern India. I was staying there for work, and I
Sorry to interrupt, where were you situated in
so I
northern?
was in Delhi for a couple of years. Then I was in Bhopal, Indore for a couple of years.
Okay.
So access to the mountains was kind of something that was quite easy for me, and I could just run away over the weekend and go somewhere which is accessible and take some photos, etc. So it kind of started like that, and over a period of time, then I realized that okay, this is something that I really enjoy doing. uh, Being outdoors again in the mountains, etc. It's very calming for me. And honestly, I am terrified when I have to do street photography. I find any street photography very challenging for me. And if you tell me to cover a wedding or a event, my God, I'll probably fail, and I'll probably not be able to do it. And honestly, that's not my genre. And I'm seriously, I can't even imagine myself doing wedding photography. It's just I'm terrified. I'm
Crazy, yeah.
terrified about that, doing that, thinking of something kind of terrifies me. So yeah, going back to the mountains, etc., it's always felt good. So that was the first thing. And then later something developed. I kind of understood what my likes, my preferences were. And when you understand your taste and preferences, as an artist, I feel it becomes your second nature. You kind of fall back to it. So I get this question a lot, especially young people. They usually say, how do I build my style? And I'm sure you might have also got that question from let's say various people.
From IIT students.
Yeah, from IIT students or wherever we go for lectures, etc. Very recently, I was doing a session with the folks at Decathlon, and a couple of participants there asked me the same thing, that your photograph kind of, we know that it is you without even looking at the name probably. So I think
Absolutely.
that first of all, that takes time. You have to do it for quite some time to build your taste and preferences. And at the end of the day, your style is nothing but your taste. And your taste and preferences becomes a filter in terms of what I want to include, what I want to shoot, what kind of lighting that I generally prefer, what kind of subject I would look for when I am actually scouting. So all these things kind of build up and over time. So I've spent a lot of time in the mountains, and I think that is one of the side effects of what you just asked. And of late, I have started doing the documentation with a little more purpose. So again, I'm working on a project which is called Above the Glacial Line. So it is a project that I started with Tonoy. and we are trying to explore some of the unexplored uh, peaks, alpine lakes, and regions of the Himalayas, which has not been documented before. So
So,
our
sorry to interrupt, but can you tell me the full name of Tonoy so
he
people
goes,
can find him?
yeah, Tanay Dash, if I'm
Okay.
not.
Okay.
Please read this section. If I don't get his name right, he will kill me. Uh, I think it's Tanay
Okay.
Dash, but I still have to check. I will send his work. He's a brilliant photographer himself. So the idea is to explore some of these undocumented locations, peaks, alpine lakes, glaciers, etc. So that we keep a track of how these fragile sort of environments are changing, and maybe over time we can build a little body of work that becomes something in the future. So
That's
yeah, just a
very
little more to
wonderful.
what we were doing.
But can I ask you what really draws you to the mountains? What do you like the most about that terrain?
First is the sense of adventure, sense of something new. So I think that is something that has been the inherent sort of fuel. That has been something that kind of always motivated. And when you are going to these unexplored uh, sort of locations, you then actually also realize a lot of things about yourself. I think the time in the mountains are really peaceful. That way you have a lot of time for yourself, you don't have the distraction, you don't have a network coverage, etc. So there is no phones for maybe a week, 10 days, and that is the time when you actually start thinking, when you can sort of then analyze, look back, uh, do a lot of internalization, if I can put it that way, and ask a lot of questions to yourself in terms of how do you keep doing it, uh, or how do you improve, what's your kind of style, etc. So I think all these realizations have kind of dawned upon me when I have traveled to far flung places. And Himalayas are is like that pinnacle where you can actually do that. So there are very little places in this in our country which is still unexplored, right? It is those one of those places where it's still there is a lot to explore, lot to find out, lots of places to go venture out. So I think that that sort of newness plus adventure, and of course the beauty. So you just can't say it in words. It's very difficult to describe. Uh, and it is also very difficult to kind of photograph and showcase the beauty. It's hardly justifies that, but it's when you are there in person, it's just insane. I mean, I am not able to put it in words how you feel, but I guess that's how it is supposed to be.
Yeah,
That's
and
supposed to be. It should be unexplainable, and that's exactly what it is.
yeah, I still feel that when we look at good photographs of mountains, including yours, we get that sense of introspection and that feeling of being nothing in front of Mother Nature.
Exactly, it's very humbling.
Yeah,
Feel that your problems are not really problems,
yeah,
and there are people who are worse off. Also, the local communities, when you kind of interact, you get to see that how uh, they are able to the day-to-day struggles that they kind of go through with the little means that they have.
yeah.
It's overall that experience is very humbling, and it keeps you grounded. It kind of it's a reminder that it's a constant reminder, for that matter, that okay, you need to be grounded and look after that. You know,
Yeah.
that's that's about it.
Can you share a little bit about the Himalayan journals and how the idea blossomed?
We kind of keep on, people who are interested in the mountains, etc. We kind of keep on reading these Himalayan journals. So these are actually, so Himalayan journals are published by a very old club called the Himalayan Club.
Okay.
So this Himalayan Club, they are like a century-old organization, one of the pioneers of mountaineering, etc. Uh, Before, I think during the British era itself, they kind of started. If I'm not wrong, it was in the 1930s, early 1930s, etc., when this club got established. And they started documenting Himalayas back then. uh, the stories, their sort of scientific explorations. Imagine in during that time, 1920s, 1930s, they were venturing out. They were conquering peaks. They were doing early studies on climate work, etc. And they were, of course, mapping the whole Himalayas.
Wow.
That was like, so imagine, without satellite, before these were like the maps that were drawn before the sat images, right? So these were the early
Incredible.
sort of, yeah, historians, mountaineers, explorers, scientists, all kind of clubbed together, and they just devoted their entire life doing this, right? And so what they did, they kind of created these journals, which is there on their official website. I can share the link with you. And these journals are very well preserved and documented. And they have obviously been passed on to our future generations. And so we still refer to those to find out unexplored areas, or maybe find out a trail, look at older maps, etc. And it's very interesting to look at or read some of those old stories. So when I was reading this, I thought that if somebody told stories about it, it will be even more interesting for me. See, these are like serious documentation, okay? And these documentations go on and on with all the details, etc. After a point in time, you might also get bored with that detail, and then you start skimming through it. And
Mhm.
they have been documenting this for 100 years. Imagine the sheer volume that they have, right? I think the last Himalayan journal got published in the 2020s. So they almost have more than 100 years of record. So then I thought, if somebody is able to tell this to me as a story, uh, that will be very interesting to hear. So I thought, let me just cook up something. So I started researching a little. I did a little bit of research, created a script which is based on these true stories, and then did a just a simple audio version of it as a discussion between uh, two individuals. So that was the idea, and this kind of led to the Himalayan journals.
Wow, it's very interesting. I had
Yeah,
started to give it a listen and I still have to like
still
finish
very
it.
early
Yeah.
days, so I'm trying to kind of fine tune it. But again, something that keeps me busy in my off time. So yeah,
But it does suit you, like it suits your choices and lifestyle and personality, the kind of work that you're doing, including like this kind of documentation. It's
yeah,
very,
there are very limited things that I do in my life. So there are just three, four things I kind of spend my entire day on. So yeah, it kind of happens. So
Yeah, it's pretty wholesome.
I'm
And
glad you like.
can you share what's the most challenging thing about photographing mountains and how do you deal with those challenges? So, for example, if I want to pursue it.
See, first of all, the planning. It's usually a very detailed planning. We often end up with, at least before an expedition, we have to spend 2 3 months just to plan this out. So taking the photograph is kind of the easiest part, because when you reach there, it is already Mother Nature has everything that you kind of imagine. So taking the photograph is the easiest thing, but the prep work that is required is what it starts basic from the research work, like I said, reading up some of the journals, looking up some of the sat images, etc., finding out route, choosing the weather conditions. Nowadays, with the changing climates, etc., it has become very tricky. You get a very small window. If you want to seriously explore some place, you need that window of opportunity. So that window of opportunity kind of comes and goes with the changing environment. And also, when you are going there, you want the best of it, right? You want the flowers to be there, or you want snow to be there, or whatever that you are looking for. So I think planning is a big chunk. After planning, then planning out the logistics. So planning in the sense, after the research work, etc., then the logistics part of it. So in the logistics, we have to figure out that, okay, I need a local guide, let's say, who knows that region, and finding that guide becomes quite critical. Because see, we are doing it on our from our expenses, from our own pockets, etc., and it is like a personal hobby, and uh, we still don't have any sponsorships, etc. So when you are doing it out of your pocket, then you have to be mindful in terms of what your expenses would end up. So this logistics become again very critical, because uh, I am here in Mumbai. If I am going to the mountains, so let's say I reach one of the airports which is closest, but even after that air travel, there is another couple of days of travel, which needs again local transport, etc. Then there is a guide, there is a technical assistant, then there are porters, etc., whom we might need. So all this is it takes a substantial bandwidth, unless and until you are going on something which is very popular. Let's say there are tons of trekking companies who will take you to a particular route, etc. Those are very well laid out, and you can do it at a very low cost as well. But when you are going in a trekking group, then your whole objective is very different. You're not going there to photograph, and there is very little option to kind of change your route, explore something new. And when we are going, we are just going there to take photos, right? So this whole goal setting, objecting, so this objectively looking at it becomes very critical. So I think these two are the primary challenges. And then when you go there, there is obviously an element of the weather, and then there are certain human capabilities that also gets challenged. uh, Altitude is obviously one of them. uh, you need time to get used to the altitude. Also, most of the times we are carrying like heavy load. It's easily 15 to 16 kgs that we are kind of lugging around with our backpacks. uh, so yeah, these are some of the challenging things that one should be mindful if they really want to explore the unexplored, if I can put it that way. Otherwise, if you are going to popular places or which are more accessible, then I don't think there is a lot of challenge these days. So roads have improved. You get local transport. There are a lot of homestays, etc., that are quite easily available these days. You can book a lot of them online. So, pretty much the infrastructure has improved over the years. I mean, when we started, let's say, 10 years back or 15 years back, it was not that great. But now this kind of culture is again the culture of traveling and exploring has, thanks to Instagram and other, social media, a lot of people are involved and they want to do this. So we get a lot of infra support that way, that we can pull off a lot of things quite easily. So yeah, that's it. But otherwise, I think elements like nature, these things are difficult to predict, and there is
Yeah.
always that element of risk. So we have to plan for it. But at times, even a lot of planning might not help. But we generally keep, let's say, a couple of days here and there as a buffer, or maybe we will change the plan if we feel that it is necessary. With drones, etc., it has become very convenient now for us to actually see what lies ahead. So let's say if we get stuck somewhere and we are not able to figure out how to move forward, uh, then we generally take help of drones, etc., to scout the location, figure out how we will, let's say, cross a river, or let's not take this route. This has a lot of elevation. Let's take this route.
So
So
that's
all this
actually, I never could.
kind of has definitely that technology is helping us, and it is becoming uh, easier. Okay, you go there, you camp, you spend
Okay.
the night on a higher camp. We will reach tomorrow. So all these, you can say, you have to kind of customize and do it on the go.
And if there is no signal, like how do you communicate with team members? If
Uh,
one goes away, like very far or high up.
we generally try and keep sat phones, etc.
Yeah.
Uh, but the problem with that is, in India, we need to take prior permissions from the Indian Army to go to certain places and to get approvals for those sat phones, etc.
Okay.
And again, that adds up to the cost. Often timelines get uh, delayed, or there are certain. Uh, it might happen that you don't get the approval, necessary approval. So yeah, these are still, there is these kind of challenges which are real world challenges, but that's what makes it worth doing, I guess.
Yeah, it sounds like an exciting project.
Yeah, it is super exciting, and
Um,
the adrenaline that you get out of all this is insane.
how frequently do you plan such an extensive project in a year?
I try to do at least one, if
Okay.
not two.
Yeah, that's fair.
So around 20 days, 15 to 20 days, I kind of keep for myself in a year.
Yeah.
And I feel that you should give yourself at least a couple of weeks or 3 weeks to do what you really like to do.
Yeah. How do you take care of your health and safety? Does the local guide has a role to play and the choice of the guide has a role to play in that?
Of course, yeah. So we carry our stuff, we carry our food, etc. So that is kind of taken care of. And thankfully, uh, most of the people who sign up for this, they have that basic level of fitness that is required to do something like that. And we are also very choosy in terms of whom we want to do this with. And I feel that that is very critical to choose your team. uh, unless and until you have a good team and a good support staff, it is impossible to do something like this. You should never try and do this alone. I mean,
Mhm.
Solo trekking, etc., is fine, but uh, if you are trying to do this alone, then that risk element is way more than it is when you are doing it in a small team. Usually, a group of three, group of five, max seven is a sweet spot. That way, it is nimble, it is fast, it is flexible, depending on how you want to do it. So yeah, choosing the right team, like everything else in life, it's very critical.
And how do you make those decisions about how much equipment and gear should I take because you have to travel light? And how do you choose your the amount of gear that you're going to carry?
For me, it's very easy. I just carry the essentials.
Which
I can
are
on hygiene. That's okay. I hardly take any backup clothes, etc. I will probably wear the same clothes every day. So if you look at my last photographs from last 10 years, my mom keeps on complaining that you look the same, all the photographs are same, you wear the same clothes.
but what if it rains and then you have to change or
Yeah,
something?
one maybe
Yeah,
one
yeah.
backup, and that kind of dries the next day, you wear it again.
Mhm.
So clothing and all, I don't think it's a huge challenge. You have to be smart enough. You should pack enough layers. You mostly have an idea in terms of what would be the temperature ranges. So if you know the temperature ranges, you can plan accordingly. You just take the necessary layers, etc., that you need, and rest of the gear is just shoes. Shoes are absolutely very important. So that is probably the backup that you should have. I mean, shoes are non-compromisable.
Backup pair of shoes, you mean?
At least a
Okay.
floater or something, so that if something happens to it, or invest in a very good brand. So that should be like your most expensive clothing, if I can put it that way. Apart from that, see, camera gears again. You know your genre. You mostly know what kind of photographs that you are going to take, or what is your preferences, etc. So you kind of choose accordingly. Uh, so that that becomes so whatever is necessary, just take only the necessary ones, and try and keep it to the base level.
Yeah, as much as possible. So you cannot carry two cameras and five lenses.
Uh, we still do that.
Okay. I thought you guys only carry one camera body and maybe one or two lenses.
Generally, a couple of cameras, three lenses. Somebody who has a drone, they will probably carry the drone. GoPros are there, but they hardly add anything to the weight. But a lot of people who are into night photography, astrophotography, etc., they also carry a lug around with even heavier gears. They have to carry those star trackers, etc. I don't do much of astrophotography as such. I might have done something, but that I have done with whatever gear that I have. So yeah, pretty much the weight you have to get used to it. And at times when we have, let's say, porters, etc., if there are animals to sort of support us, let's say we have those ponies, etc., who can go for till, let's say, a certain point. Maybe we will give away those. Let's say they can lug around the tripod, etc., for the entire day, because we might not need the tripod every time we are stopping to take a photograph, right?
Mhm.
We might need the tripod for a very specific use case.
Mhm.
So then we generally give that to the ponies and they take care of it. But when after a certain point, the ponies can't go further, right?
Not a very reliable photography assistant then.
Yeah. So then you are just left with your backpack and you have to deal with it.
Yeah.
You have to deal with it.
And how do you prepare yourself mentally and also in terms of like initially before the trip begins, for unexpected weather conditions?
We try not to think too much about it, being
Okay.
very honest with you. Because see, there are certain things which are beyond our control. And honestly, when you are in the wilderness, there are a lot of things that can go wrong, and then there are a lot of things that can fall into place, and you will only know when you go there. No, we still, our weather models, forecasting models are still not that great. They still say that 50% chances of rain. When they say 50% chances of rain, that means they don't know shit whether it's going to rain or not.
It's like flipping the coin.
Yeah, what is 50% chances of rain? Either there is going to be rain or there is not going to be rain. Anyway, so the climate models are constantly changing, and it's very difficult to predict, honestly. And we try and not to think too much about it. We kind of see what is the best conditions, or what is that window of opportunity that we have. We try and plan everything to that, uh, and then try and not to think too much about it. So last year only, when we were supposed to go, just a couple of weeks back, Manali and those regions had a very bad flash flood. So at one point in time, we were thinking whether we would be able to pursue this or not, and we were almost on the verge of canceling it, etc. But then the weather again turned better, and sort of the roads, etc., started opening up, and we could continue with what we wanted to do. So these things happen, and I think we have to be okay with if things get cancelled, etc. I know there's a lot of things that it we feel gutted if it gets cancelled because of months of preparation, etc. Also a lot of money that is gone into it already. So all those things are there, but if it can't happen, it can't happen. After a point, you should not push forward.
Has it ever happened that you didn't expect something and then something really wonderful happened in terms of
It,
spotting? Or,
it,
yeah? Okay. That's very promising.
yeah, it happens. It happens every time. So,
For example,
for example, okay, uh, let's say early November, etc., when it is supposed to be the shoulder season, it is considered that it is not a great season to travel, or a lot of people avoid traveling in that season. But I have been to Kashmir a few times in that shoulder season, and I got the best of both worlds. I saw the fall colors, and I also saw fall colors through snow. So the next day it started snowing. For the next 3 days, it was blizzard, everything, and it was beautiful, and it was totally unexpected. So yeah, these things kind of happen when you go there.
have you seen those mountain cheetahs, like mountain,
Snow
uh,
leopards.
yeah, snow leopards, mountain cheetahs? My knowledge about animal kingdom
I have been fortunate enough to. I am actually one of those who has actually seen the snow leopard.
was that an unexpected?
Is
Was that unexpected or was that
not.
expected?
It was not unexpected. It was quite well planned.
Oh,
So we had to send. We actually sent trackers, etc., a few days before we were supposed to go there, and we had great local support. And these days, snow leopard, uh, you can say snow leopard photography, or that entire tourism, if I can call it, that has gained a lot of popularity and eyeballs and attraction with the wildlife enthusiast. So there are a lot of people who are doing this as a profession nowadays, and these it has become slightly easier to track and spot them than it was before. Um, it's a good thing and a bad thing. The local communities are definitely uh, their economic standpoint, their overall, uh, let's say livelihood, etc., has improved because of this. And if they can do this in and continue to do this with harmony and sustainably continue this, then this has a lot of potential. And so, like I was saying, we could send trackers in the mountains. I mean, people who will try and spot these elusive animals. So they are called the ghosts of the Himalayas, and they
Wow.
are called ghosts because of a reason, right? That they are very elusive. And when I'm saying this, that it has become easier to spot, it's not that if you tomorrow you go and you will just see it, right? But there is a method to the madness now. There are people who are doing a lot of great work around this, and there are very dedicated enthusiasts who are managing this locally. So yeah, a lot of conservation efforts, etc., are also happening around snow leopard, etc. So yeah, net it has become a little more accessible, even for people with lesser experience in terms of wildlife, etc. They can still pay for it and get that experience. And I consider myself to be very, very lucky that I could actually spot this. And I was lucky enough to also photograph it. It was not great. The photograph was shit, but I still could see it with my own eyes. And that has been a huge experience for me.
Do they look very majestic? Like, are they very big or are they?
They are very beautiful. Yeah, majestic as well. They are actually not huge. They
Okay.
are stout. Their evolution has kind of helped them to adapt to the higher altitudes. They are super nimble. They can camouflage like anything. Even if they are at a, let's say, 10 feet away from you, you will probably not know.
Oh, wow.
It's that well camouflaged. And even with our proper gears and let's say a 600 lens, it would be very difficult for us to focus and locate the animal in their natural habitat. With years and years of evolution, they have been uh, able to adapt to that climate, and so their entire evolution has kind of helped them to adapt to those environments, to those harsh climates, etc.
Wow. It's
But yeah,
amazing.
beautiful. They look majestic actually.
So, in daily life as well as when you're traveling, what are your triggers to pick up the camera? What really prompts you to photograph?
Anything that piques my interest. To put it very simply, anything that piques my interest, I kind of take a photograph. And when I'm traveling, I am also it's also that mental alertness, if I can put it that way. Okay, what will look good on camera or what will look good as a photograph? See, a lot of things that we see in our day-to-day life might not look great on camera, even though it looks brilliant when you see it with your own eyes, but it not might not be that photogenic. So, and it's both ways. Something which is very common, very mundane, might look great on camera, right? And you just have to be a little alert of your surroundings. And when we are going there, we are obviously going with a lot of purpose in terms of whenever I'm kind of traveling, if I'm traveling to anywhere new, which I have not explored before, and it can be a simple touristy place where I'm going with my wife, etc., or maybe going with the family. There also we have that instinct. It's more of a gut feeling that you should take this photograph, and you know that as a photographer that you should take that photograph. Again, it's very hard to explain, and we keep on looking for those patterns, those particular light condition, maybe a harsh shadow somewhere. uh, so yeah, pretty much anything that piques my interest.
But have you observed any pattern in the stimuli that gives you that impulse, or it doesn't matter?
Mm, since you asked, let me think. I haven't thought about it. But yeah, some see, there are certain natural inclinations, like I said. So when I'm traveling to, let's say, a city, then I'm not very inclined to pick up my camera. And I have to travel a lot because of my work, etc. And I almost weekly I'm traveling to every other city. But not necessarily I am taking photos with the camera as such. I might take photos from the phone, and that's also okay. Uh, the natural inclination to pick up the camera is more when I'm going somewhere which I have not gone before.
Oh, okay.
I think that is like something, that sense of newness kind of gives me that trigger to okay document that place. So if I've gone, let's say if I tomorrow if I travel to Bangalore, I will probably not see things very photographically unless and until I really find something which kind of stands out, or maybe something which I really enjoyed, or something that happened out of the ordinary. I could probably end up taking a photograph. But when I'm going somewhere new, I have seen that as a pattern, I am more inclined to take photos.
Maybe it just puts you in a more curious mindset.
Yeah, I think that sense of exploration kind of triggers that okay, you need to document this. You are probably not going to come here again,
Yeah,
and if you don't document this, then you are probably going to miss out.
yeah.
And I have a philosophy where I have told myself, or I have conditioned myself that I take photographs to remember things better, right? And I have seen that it works quite well for me. I tend to remember everything with that particular moment if I've taken a photograph. When I see a photograph, I could vividly remember what has happened in that time, place, etc., etc. Right?
Yeah, it becomes like your little photo journal.
Yeah, it's like a time machine.
Yeah,
It's a bit like a time machine, and when I look at it, I kind of get instantly transported to that place in time and remember all the little details, like my lived experiences come alive. So I think, yeah, that acts as a good trigger, I guess.
thank you so much for answering that difficult question.
Yeah, I never actually thought about it, but it's good. It's good you asked.
So I have a few set of questions which are more focused on particular type of photography that you've done.
Sure.
So first is Milky Way photography, which I really liked. Your Milky Way nightscapes are fabulous, and maybe because they tell a story, it doesn't look boring at all. It's not like just the image of the sky, but it has more to tell. So, can you give some tips to probably beginner photographers or photographers like me who have not explored capturing Milky Way galaxy?
Okay, first of all, I'm not an expert on
That's
this.
fine.
I have photographed a lot of night skies, but I hardly consider myself an astrophotographer and I am not an expert. But what I've understood, I can give you a little bit of that, how I generally approach night skies. So, the first and foremost tip is to find a dark place. And that is again the most challenging thing to do in India.
Yeah, without light pollution.
Exactly. So if you have to find a place where there is very little light pollution, you have to run away from, from the society, or from people, if I can put it that way. You have to really go far and beyond and find a place which is safe to venture out at night, because you have to also kind of understand what is the wildlife pattern, etc., in some of these places. It might not be very clever thing to do again alone, so be mindful of that, especially when you are trying to photograph an unknown place at night. Things can get very difficult, very challenging. So tip number one is to find a really dark place. Tip number two is to set up your shot when there is daylight.
Okay.
Don't try and compose at night. Even though I know a lot of photographers, including some of the names that I took before, they are brilliant at doing that, and I totally suck at doing that. And I hate to compose at night because it is very difficult for me. I can't do that. And I don't enjoy doing that. So I do all my scouting, whatever that I want to do. I set up my shot and I'm happy with maybe a couple of shots throughout the night. A lot of people might just run around, recompose, take more photographs, etc. But I kind of stay away from that because honestly, I lack that skill. It's okay that I will probably improve on that, but I usually try to compose when I have a little bit of daylight.
I think
So
it's an excellent tip for people who are
yeah,
like
especially for beginners, I
delving into,
consider
yeah.
myself as beginner, and also don't fuss about too much with your gears, etc. I think where people get stuck with astrophotography is that they start thinking of gears too much, especially when they are trying to start. When you're trying to start, whatever that you have is the best gear. Okay, you can easily start if you have a prime lens and if you have a nice steady tripod. That is like the two basic hygiene items that you would need. These days people do a lot of Milky Way shots, etc., from their phones itself. If you want, you can do that, but I kind of don't do that, but you can, to start with. So my tip would be these three: that find really dark skies. Second is compose your shot when you have a little bit of daylight. Then you can obviously in the post production work on blending, etc. If you even if you don't want to blend, you will still have a great composition, right?
Can you elaborate a bit about blending for people who don't know it?
Okay, so generally what we do, to put it very simply, there is, let's say if I'm trying to photograph a landscape and there is a chance that okay, the Milky Way will have a certain orientation in that landscape. So generally what we do, we take one exposure which is for the foreground, and we take another exposure which is for the sky. Okay, so these two separate exposures then get blended together on a post production software. You can use anything. There are a lot of astrophotography related softwares which kind of helps fast track this process. But essentially what you are doing, you are just trying to blend these different exposures together. You can do it on Photoshop as well. So the basic can be done on Photoshop, Lightroom, etc. So just two exposures clubbed together. Now, when you
Of
become
the
more,
without
sorry,
without changing the frame at all.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I said, that you compose
Mm.
whatever you want to compose, and in that first shot, you will have your foreground nicely in terms of the composition that you were trying to set up. And then when the sky gets dark and when you can actually see the Milky Way, then you can take another exposure to accommodate the Milky Way. And then you just replace the sky, right? And of course, your foreground will look unnatural if you don't balance it. You can't have a broad daylight shot of a foreground, and even though a lot of people do that, but I kind of don't like it. So you have to balance it and see what works well for that scene. So that is the very basic idea of doing astrophotography. And then once you get better at it, you will probably take multiple exposures of that night sky so that the Milky Way is more prominent. You can see what are the actual structures. You can see more galaxies, etc. I mean, you can see the galaxy in more detail,
Yeah.
right? So that's the very basic idea of doing nightscapes. We use a lot of mobile apps as well to kind of align our shot. That helps us to imagine how the night sky will look. Let's say something like a photo pills. It's a very well-known app for photographers that kind of gives a very good idea from where the Milky Way will rise, where it will set, and other celestial objects for
Is
that
it
matter.
called photo pills?
Yeah, photo pills.
Okay.
It's a brilliant app, and it is very popular within the community, photography community, etc. And then there are other night sky apps, let's say Sterilium, etc., uh, which also does a decent job. Uh, so these all these tools kind of help you to compose, and the whole idea is to have a composition which kind of tells a story, etc. So that's the very basics. That's the very basics of it.
Yeah, I think your tips are very helpful. I'll try my hands on
You
next
should,
time.
you should. And I am sure that finding a darker place will be easier in Europe that than in India. So you should definitely give it a go.
Yeah. So the next question about also on the style of photography is when one sees your abstract photography work, they look very beautiful, like with textures and lines and colors, and like the most attractive elements of your abstract photography are those. So, do you agree that seeing your surroundings graphically requires a certain way of seeing and mind, like, the art of seeing and also the mindfulness part comes in?
Of course, it does. So it's like any skill that you get good at. Uh, See, as photographers, you have to build that over time. Uh, you have to build that over time in terms of what you like, what are your preferences. Like I was talking about when we started, that how do you develop your style, etc. And it is part of that journey that you kind of see things a little differently than maybe somebody who is looking at it very objectively, right? Uh, and it is also uh, at times you know that okay, you are able to separate, let's say, certain elements, and then you can eliminate those elements. See, I feel abstraction comes when you are able to eliminate very successfully, right?
That's true.
And photography as a process is more like elimination. See, when you are when you are a painter or an if you are doing a sketch, etc., you have the luxury to add or subtract what you want to do, right? But when you are taking the photograph, uh, it's already there, everything is already there in front of you. You have to pick and choose what to include. So I approach any scene as an elimination process. That what should not be there is my first question whenever I'm trying to compose something, and that kind of gives me more clarity, and I feel that is what then turns into your way of seeing things, etc. So my first filter is to do away with anything that is not necessary for that scene, and that is why I kind of struggle to work with very busy environment. And like I said, I'm very afraid of doing street photography. I kind of push myself so that I can keep on improving my craft, but I find it very difficult to do because there are so many things that's happening, and it's very difficult for me to process and predict. uh, and it's also the anticipation with street photography, that okay, what if somebody is going to walk into my scene or not. But with landscape, with nature, that is slightly more relaxed. You know that, oh, okay, you have been waiting for the good light, right? And you have been waiting for last 4 hours. So, and you are waiting for that 2 minutes or 3 minutes for that light to be perfect or for that light to blow up. So, yeah, elimination is the key as a photographer, because then you can pick and choose what to include, what not to keep, and you can just hone into what you want to focus. And at times, then it might be nonsensical. uh, Abstraction at times might be nonsensical. Something might make sense to me and it might not make sense to you, and it you should be okay with it. And if you talk to my parents, they say the same thing all the time, that what you photograph I never understand. My mom hates my photos. She she doesn't like them at all, and she often lectures me in terms of this is how you should have taken the photograph, what is this, we can't even make out what is in there. So I'm like,
We can't blame her. She's just playing her character of Indian mom.
yeah. So I've got used to those criticisms, and I'm kind of happy when I get that feedback. I know, okay, I know what I'm doing, this is fine.
But it all, yeah, like even if you eliminate and even if you try to narrow down, it takes a certain sense and, even practice
Yeah,
in the art of seeing that particular element in the frame, because that will draw you to, draw itself to you. For
exactly.
example, not everyone will be able to appreciate or even notice a certain texture or pattern or lines in their surroundings.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's where your sort of photographic brain kicks in, and over the years with practice, etc., you have formed so much of neural network inside your head that
Yeah,
kind of sense, you get a sense, right, that okay, this is like a leading line.
yeah,
This is something which is called a break in the pattern. So all these design elements kind of, then you see the whole world slightly differently. And
yeah.
we all do that as photographers. I'm sure you are able to understand what I'm trying to say. uh, there are certain things that we look at differently, right? So I'm using a very white background and I'm wearing a black t-shirt, and it's this automatic contrast that you kind of have. And I look at it as highlights and shadows. uh, Somebody might just look at it like a white wall and a black t-shirt. That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
So that's what you develop, and that's what you learn as a photographer in terms of how to see things your way, how to interpret the world your way.
So when you have the camera hanging on your shoulders and you're on location, for example, when do you say, okay, Rajarshi, it's time to pack up? I'm done for the day. When do you stop?
uh, I think when the light turns flat,
Okay.
but it happens every time. As soon as we pack up, something brilliant happens. It happens more often than you can imagine. Yeah, we would be like, okay, we are done for the day. We got some crazy stuff. Wow, we are like pumped up. Everybody is super happy. Now let's just enjoy the food. We are hungry, starving. Let's get done with it. So now what we have done, we have tried to. We don't leave our pack up our tripods in any which way where we go. There are nobody else apart from us. So we just leave the tripods there, and we'll come back to our tents and maybe get some food.
So you leave your cameras out there in the open?
Unless and until the weather turns bad,
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of leave it there.
Yeah.
And also, see, this is all. It also becomes easier when you are at the location. So that is also a great tip. When you are trying to photograph the outdoors, you can't stay at a hotel and expect to get the best lighting conditions, or expect to get something which is out of the ordinary, because that out of the ordinary happens for a split second, and if you are not there present, then you will miss it. So yeah, pack up happens when the light kind of becomes boring, or maybe too very cloudy, or it starts to rain, or just snows you down, etc.
So the next probably couple of questions would might bleed into also post processing and how you edit your images. The first one is, how do you decide the color palette for an image or a series, and what elements of the color govern your decision for the color palette? And I ask you this question because I really like the hues that you show in your images. Like, you really have an eye for that.
Yeah, I'm glad that you kind of we have the same sort of taste, and you like that. I think a lot of it, the first filter is that what kind of photographs you have got from a particular, let's say, scene. Let's say if it's a sunset, it has a lot of warm oranges, yellows, reds, etc. You tend to push that element when you are trying to uh, edit, or when you are sitting for when you are trying to sit and edit, you are thinking what it look like, and what would be the best version of that scene. That is the objective that we generally have. Okay, okay, I have seen something, I have taken that photograph, and now I want to represent the best version of it, right? So that is how I approach post production. I don't spend a ton of time. I would want to, but I somehow get a little bored, and I don't spend a lot of time in post production. Having said that, like I said, when you have a very clear sort of look and feel in your head, it becomes easier for you to uh, reach that final render or reach that final version, because you are not experimenting much. There are certain scenes, etc., which needs a lot of experimenting. You know that okay, this photograph has good raw materials, but it's still not there. And it happens with most of your work, right? Some of it never sees the light of the day, and that's the 90% of the work. But I try and approach post processing like that. uh, so first of all, it should go with what I saw. There has to be that natural vibe to it, and then you start working on it to make it better and better and better. And at times when you take a lot of artistic liberty, etc., to present something which you want to present, and I think that is where your uh, skill and your preferences, your taste and preferences as an artist comes into the picture. uh, but yeah, the first criteria is how you have seen what you have seen, and what would be the best case representation of that scene.
Thank you for summing it up. So I really like your crops, not the harvested crops, but the frames. Do you follow the regular compositional tools such as rule of thirds or golden ratio and etc.? Or sometimes you just want to throw them out of the window and you just want to listen to your artistic impulse? And how much thought process actually goes in before and while you're shooting and later on when you're sitting down to edit regarding compositional tools?
Okay, let me try and break it down in terms of in two parts. One is while taking the photograph, and the next is the post production. People who know me and who have kind of traveled with me, or who has spent some time shooting with me, they know that I'm very fussy about composition, and I want to nail that in camera first. So that is like my first. So I don't go by I will fix it on post. I don't like that approach at all. And also see, I'm mostly doing landscape and travel, etc., right? I have the time, and I feel that when I have the time, I should be able to take the best version of it from the field itself. So that kind of helps, that I am trying to nail the composition, or trying to experiment with a few point of views, or different perspectives, different focal length choices on the field itself, right? So that is part A. The part B is your final, let's say, post production, and when you just crop, etc. Uh, I really like the square crop, so I am I
Even though Instagram got rid of it.
I don't care. So I love the square crop, and of course, yeah, the guidelines, the compositional elements, we all kind of use that instinctively. But again, I'm not too fussy about it, because I know instinctively what is that I want to present. And like I said, I kind of approach that with the elimination process. So I'm very fussy about what to keep in that frame, and what should not be part of that frame. And I set very high standards for that. I should like that crop. That is my only criteria. Since I'm not doing it for the Instagram, or I'm not doing it for any publication as such, and I don't have the pressure to kind of, you know, get liked by somebody, or since I'm not doing a paid work, uh, it I don't have to please the person who is looking at it. the only person that I need to please is myself. And I kind of approach my crops that way.
I think all artists should believe that. It's a very liberating thought that I am doing it because I like it this way.
It's easier
Unless,
said than done.
yeah,
If it's
unless you're,
commercial work, etc. Like I said,
yeah,
if somebody is doing a wedding,
yeah, unless
and
it's commissioned.
if it's for commercial purposes, then you have to kind of stick to some of the guidelines, etc., which are there. You might have to play by the rules, uh, but I'm lucky I don't have to. So
It helps. I mean, it helps people like me who can appreciate such, authenticity.
yeah, it's just easier that way. No? It's just
Yeah,
easier to please yourself rather than thinking of an algorithm's
yeah.
preference, etc. So it's just easier that.
So there is also twist in your storytelling, uh, through photographs. I've observed that you also have a penchant for the textual medium with words, such as reading and writing. I saw it on your website, although I haven't seen you promoting that a lot, like what you write. Can we tell me or share how the writing medium translates and supports your visual storytelling?
Mm, so I feel that it's like a complementary skill. If I have not got a very good photograph, let's take an example of a snow leopard. Because I can uh, write about my experience in, let's say, a simple words which I it's my way of writing, etc. It becomes like a complementary skill for me to present that story. And at the end of the day, see, I am a marketeer by profession. Storytelling is something that I do for a living, right? So that that kind of feeds the whole artistic choices. And at times, then I try and use that as a mixed media. Let's say if I'm working on a book, or if I'm currently, like, I'm dabbling with that Himalayan journals, etc., where I'm trying to script, etc. So writing helps in that whole process. And also, what I've seen, that writing gives me a lot of clarity of thought. uh, how I work or how I function as a photographer, I think a lot of that realization has dawned upon me because I've been able to write it, maybe in a journal or on my blogs, etc., wherever. And I do that quite often. So I might not have published it as much as I would have wanted to, but I never also felt the need to do it. I thought it was more of an internalization that I was going through. So I think for me, writing gives me a lot of clarity of thought, and I can figure out stuff better when I'm writing it. Probably that has something to do with our kind of education system.
I agree with that because it also helps me. I always maintain a journal in which, like, it's purely a photography journal in which I
Oh
write
wow,
down.
interesting.
Yeah, I write down all my. I all like. Usually, I have one going on, and I write down all the ideas that I get, and any little thing that comes to my mind, I keep writing in it. And some ideas bloom into reality, some don't. But I can
Yeah,
always go back and check. And
exactly.
sometimes you forget, and sometimes you are very busy in your daily lives, and then out of nowhere a brilliant idea comes. So I just quickly write it down, and then later on I try to act upon it. So
Yeah,
that
it's
really helps
absolutely
actually.
helpful. Yeah, it's absolutely very helpful. In fact, a lot of uh, I have seen that I am a very visual person. It also helps me to remember, like you said, that if there is an idea or there is something that you thought of something, it's better to just jot it down.
Yeah.
I often text myself. It's just
Yeah.
as that.
I also
Uh,
do that a lot.
yeah, I'm sure a lot of people does that,
Yeah.
and it's as simple as that.
Yeah, and then the more concrete ideas they get transferred to my notes in the phone, so I can just get back to it on location if there are some particular things I want to keep track of. That
Yeah.
really helps. And also, yeah, blogging is also, even though people now say that they don't read any blogs, there is no demand of blogs anymore, but it's very satisfying personally as an
I
artist.
don't feel that there has to be a demand for everything.
Yeah,
You just do some things just for yourself and uh, just get those reps in, right?
yeah,
It's like going to that gym.
yeah.
You do certain things just without thinking of the outcome. I honestly believe that post production and editing photos, etc., will not exist in next maybe next 3 years. People don't need to spend so much of time editing photos, etc. I'm sure that we will be able to type a small prompt, and that prompt can copy my style very easily, and I can train that model and maybe just churn out, uh, you know, images that would look like exactly like I have edited those images with my own hands. But then there is no fun in it.
I think the wedding industry will get a great boost with that.
Yeah, not only wedding, a lot of people who have to, churn out volumes.
Yeah,
That it will be very helpful, and one click sort of an edit is very helpful. But does it uh, does it fulfill your artistic vision? Is something that you have to be mindful,
yeah.
because when you are trying to edit a photograph, there are a lot of things that you do it when you are actually sitting with the edit, right? You would interpret certain things which you have not thought before. You would probably take the lighting to a very different direction than you would otherwise. So I think
And
presets are a great
yeah.
place to start with, but once you start doing it, then it turns into slightly different, and maybe what you had in your head at times it becomes even better as the final outcome. So yeah,
Yeah,
these things will happen.
yeah, the creative process will never get outdated.
Yeah, that's what I feel. So
So we have reached almost the end of the conversation. So the last question for you is, what is making you excited? Like any future projects in your pipeline that we can expect?
yeah, couple of things I'm working on. Like you said, I'm working on a book project which is 9 to 5 and art. I don't know if that is the name that I'm going to stick to. Might have to work a little bit on that. So that is one thing that I'm working on. The second one is the Himalayan journals podcast, etc. And of course, the act of taking photos, going out, traveling, etc., will be there. Like I said, I do very limited number of things in life. So maybe just 4 or 5 things that I keep doing every day. So yeah, that is going to keep me busy.
Yeah, very excited to see what you bring to the Indian travel and nature photography sphere. And you're already, you've added a lot of gems in that sector. And I'm always grateful to have met you. And
Thank you
thank you
so much.
so much for joining today.
Thank you so much. It's a brilliant platform, like I said. We need more platforms like this, and you have always been a great kind of support, and I can bounce off ideas. So, looking forward to how we evolve
Yeah,
as, artists.
likewise. Likewise. Yeah,
Thank you so much. It's been a great conversation. Thank you.
yeah, thank you.